Have you ever seen an ambulance screaming past, lights flashing, and just wondered what is really going on in there? What's the whole process, from that first alert to arriving at the hospital? Well, today, we're going to step right into the boots of an emergency medical responder and break down exactly what happens. We're going to follow a call from start to finish. So, picture this. The tone drops, an emergency call goes out. You're the first responder on the way. What happens right now, in this very second? Well, this is where all that training snaps into place, because that clock is officially ticking. And, the interesting thing is, a successful response doesn't actually start with a siren. It starts with a system. And that system, that whole process, it begins long before a call ever even comes in. See, success in this line of work is built on a foundation of just meticulous preparation. You have to be ready. You can't save a life if your gear isn't ready to go at a moment's notice. And this right here is the heart of it all, the EMR Life Support Kit. Now, this is so much more than a first aid box. Think of it like a miniature mobile emergency room, packed with absolutely everything you need to handle anything from a small cut to a major life-threatening emergency. What's so telling is how this kit is organized. It kind of tells a story about priorities. Look at that first category, personal safety. That's rule number one. Before you can help anybody, you have to make sure you don't become a patient yourself. Then you've got your resuscitation gear for the most immediate threats to life and immobilization tools for injuries. And it even has things like fire extinguishers and flares because, let's face it, an emergency scene is totally unpredictable. Every single item has a purpose. And every single call, no matter what it is, follows this exact structure. We're going to walk through all 6 of these phases, from the initial dispatch all the way to the final paperwork. It's a really disciplined cycle, and what's amazing is that each step demands a completely different mindset. From the quiet focus of getting ready, to the high alert rush of driving to the scene, and back down to the calm control you need with a patient. It's all about safety and efficiency. So let's put that preparation idea into practice. Imagine you're starting your shift, and you get a vehicle you've never driven before. You can't just hop in and go, right? You can't assume anything. The very first thing you do is a complete top-to-bottom check. You test the sirens, you check the fuel, and most importantly, you go through a detailed checklist of every single piece of medical equipment to make sure it's there and it works. Preparation isn't just a one-time thing, it's constant. Okay, so the checks are done, you're ready to go. And then the call comes in. We are now in phase 2, the response. And this is where that mindset has to shift on a dime. This is the lights and sirens part of the job that everyone thinks of, but honestly, it's also one of the most dangerous. This quote from the training manual says it all, but I want you to pay attention to the order of those words: quickly and safely. One is totally useless without the other. You are absolutely no good to your patient if you get into a crash on the way there. And this just puts it perfectly. It's not about being the fastest car on the road. It's about being the most skilled, professional, defensive driver out there. You have to anticipate what every other car is going to do when they suddenly hear sirens and see those flashing lights in the rearview mirror. Yeah, this is a highly calculated process. You know your route before you even put the vehicle in drive. You're constantly scanning, you're managing distractions, you're adjusting for the weather. Ask any first responder, and they'll tell you, sometimes the most dangerous part of the entire job is just getting to the scene. Okay, you've made it. The sirens wind down. That brings us to phase 3, arrival at the scene. And right here, the mindset has to shift again. You're going from that high-speed driving focus to a calm, methodical assessment and really taking command of the environment around you. Okay, here's another scenario for you. You pull up to a multi-vehicle crash. It's chaotic. There are 2 wrecked cars and police are already there handling traffic. What is your very first move? I'll give you a hint. It's not running straight to the patient. It's about taking control. Your very first action is tactical. You actually use your own vehicle to create a physical barrier, a shield, to protect the scene. Then you do what's called a scene size up. It's a super fast 360-degree scan for any hazards, leaking fuel, downed power lines, anything. Only after the scene is safe do you figure out how many patients you have and whether you need to call for backup. This whole process takes just seconds, but it sets the stage for everything that comes next. So sometimes during that scene size up, you realize you have a patient who is so critically injured that a normal ambulance ride to the hospital just isn't going to cut it. It won't be fast enough. And that's when you call in a very special tool, the air ambulance. Now, it's really important to get this. This isn't for, a broken arm. Calling in a helicopter is reserved for the absolute most severe cases, where getting that patient to a specialized trauma center within what's called the golden hour can literally be the difference between life and death. But you can't just land a helicopter in the middle of anywhere. It's actually the EMR on the ground who's responsible for finding and setting up a safe landing zone, or LZ. It has to be clear, it has to be secure, and it has to be well marked, whether it's the middle of the day in an open field or pitch black on a highway. And just to give you a sense of scale, the standard minimum size for a landing zone is 100 by 100 feet. To put that in perspective, that's roughly the size of a baseball infield. And it has to be flat and totally free of any debris, any wires, any obstructions at all. And here is why that space is so important. Just look at these numbers. The main rotor is spinning at an incredible 3,000 RPM, and that creates this powerful downwash of air. We're talking winds between 60 and 80 miles per hour. That's hurricane force. Anything not tied down, a loose sheet, a piece of trash, it instantly becomes a dangerous projectile. Because of that immense power, the rules for working around a helicopter are absolute. They are non-negotiable. You always approach from the front, where the pilot can see you. You never, ever go near the tail rotor. It's practically invisible when it's spinning. And you don't move an inch until the pilot or a crew member gives you the signal. Safety here is everything. Okay, so the patient has been treated, they've been transferred to the ambulance or maybe the helicopter, and they're on their way. So the emergency is over, right? Well, not for the EMR, not even close. Now we enter the final phases of the call, and in some ways, these are the most critical. This is the disciplined, meticulous work that has to happen after all the adrenaline is gone. That patient care report, that's a legal document. It's a critical part of their medical record that tells the hospital team everything that happened before they arrived. Then, every single surface and piece of equipment has to be cleaned and decontaminated. You have to protect your next patient. And finally, every single bandage, every supply you used must be restocked. Because getting ready for the next call isn't just a chore, it's the first step in saving the next life. And that's really it, the anatomy of an emergency call. It's a continuous loop. You have these moments of intense, high-stakes action, and they're always followed by methodical, detailed preparation for the next one. So think about it. Which part would you find the most challenging? The high-speed response, the critical decision-making on scene, or that disciplined, quiet reset afterwards? Each phase requires a completely different person, all wrapped up in one job.